Okay, well, one of the things that we left out of our Route 30 story, I think, is my frog. And we had talked last time about jumping off the garage roof. And one of the things that I remember a traumatic experience was you throwing my frog, which was, I only had a very limited number of toys, being the second child. So my frog was, I remember it was a good sized frog. It was kind of tall, and I loved it, slept with it, took it everywhere, and it was similar to my silk pillow kind of thing, that you had decided that I didn't need this frog any longer, and you threw it over the garage into the jagger bush, where it was impossible to recover.
As punishment for being my brother or something.
Probably,
Yeah.
probably I offended you in some way, in something, but
Well, see, here's the thing. You know, we're calling this growing up with my brother, so you remember things, and then I remember the truth.
the truth. Yes, yes.
Well, actually,
through your eyes.
this all started, the frog thing. I'm going to have to go back like 2 steps. We had this, as I was saying in the before, we had this big area out in front of the house that was gravel, red dog, no grass. And then there was grass. And that was about halfway to the spring. Well, this gravel part was where we played. So we were playing our version of baseball. And we had a wiffle ball bat and a wiffle ball. And we were taking turns playing the McCluskey version of baseball, because there were you on one team and me on the other. So we started out with a wiffle ball, and one of us hit it into the briars. Well, we didn't want to go in and get it, because then you get all scratched up and it's dense, and so I said, let's go get the head off of one of Linda's dolls, because Linda had a couple dolls.
Yeah, she didn't need all of them anyway.
Yeah, no. And they were the kind that had the rubber heads that would just come right off, and they weren't the ones with eyes in them that eyes were painted on, so it's just like a rubber ball.
We
with a
could
hole
put
in
it back when we were done
And
anyway.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we had, well, that was the plan. We put it back when we're done. So we're playing with that, and one of us hit it into the briars. Well, we did go and look for it, but we couldn't find it. I don't know why we didn't find it. Thick briars. Well, now here's the step you're missing. Number one is that we decided to use your frog as the baseball. Now, your frog wasn't as big as this little pad of paper. It was not this tall thing. It was probably this big. Not much bigger than Linda's baby doll head. So I apparently, and I don't remember that I did it, but it got hit into the briars with the wiffle ball, Linda's baby doll head, and then your frog. And we didn't find any 3 of them. And we did go and look, and we spent a great deal of time out there because you were all wound up about, I want my frog back, I want my frog.
It was my only toy. It was the only toy I had. So,
What about the scooter?
well, yeah, that was the only toy that you really didn't destroy. I don't know where it is to this day, so the jury's still out on what might have happened, but I had the greatest little scooter. It had handles, and the scooter, because we were poor, it didn't have rubber wheels. It used to when it was new, but I never had it new. And it had just wire wheels, just the metal rims, and that's what I'd run up and down on the driveway with. That was my great love and good times. But now we're talking about my toys. But poor Linda took a beating at that place, and I remember one of the things. She was really little, and with 2 boys, we didn't really give her time. She was a pain in the ass, pretty much. But I remember one time we were down by the bridge, and these guys stopped.
We were on the side of the bridge toward the road, not on the house side of the bridge. Yeah,
Whatever. And they were trying to entice Linda to
get in their car.
In their car.
Yeah,
and
they were.
And you lassoed them. That was part of our cowboy things.
She wouldn't. We called her. We called her and called her, and she wouldn't come back. She was going. I don't know what they were offering her, but she was going. And yeah, the lasso was the clothesline that Mom used.
Yeah.
We took the clothesline down, and that was our cowboy lasso. And I wasn't that good, but when I threw that to get Linda to keep from getting in that car, it went right over her head and around her waist and pulled her away from those guys. And I don't remember after that. I don't know what.
I don't either, but I remember you rescuing Linda from that, and we got a big talking about people along the car and don't go take candy.
Well, we already knew that.
Well, yeah, but we got reminded.
Yeah.
And we didn't. But Linda also got. I remember one time we took her up into the woods. She followed us all the time. She wanted to play with us. We used to go out in the woods all around us. She wasn't allowed in the woods. So she went with us one time. We tied her to that tree.
She followed us one time.
Well, she followed us. That right. It wasn't our fault. But we tied her to a tree. And
So she couldn't follow us.
yeah, and then we took off and left her. And geez, Mom beat us on that one too. That was another
Oh,
beating,
yeah, well.
beating kind of thing.
But I mean, those are so we saved her one time and we tied her to a tree one time, so it kind of balances out. And of course, she had a baby doll with no head, and that probably was traumatic.
Possibly.
But you know, she never had brought it up, like you have about the frog.
Yeah. Well, another thing on 30th I wanted to talk about is the school that I went to. A one-room school that most people don't know or experience, but a one-room school. My one-room school had a potbelly stove in the middle of the room, a lot like our house. So it wasn't like a big deal. It had no running water. It had an outhouse that we went to, and I remember
And a pump.
that you could get your water.
The selected student was allowed to go out and pump a bucket of water for the rest of the kids in the school to drink.
Yeah, with a dipper.
Yeah.
You'd use the dipper.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We all shared the dipper.
The same dipper. Yeah,
That's right.
like colds and flu probably. But the interesting thing about that was education back then, because back then you had a desk and an inkwell, and I remember they'd give you these, the pens had a metal tip on them, and you pushed it up in, and that's what you put into the ink, and you'd write, and we had slate boards where piece of chalk and you could write on the slate, and I remember there was stuff on the board all the time. They were writing stuff, but because my eyes were so bad, and we didn't realize how bad my eyes were, I couldn't see the board. So all my learning, none of it came from what was on the board. It was all auditory, listening, and I still did fairly well. At least I thought I did until I moved to Burgettstown, and that was a whole different story. I got A's and B's at the one-room school, but Burgettstown, they ran a test on me, and they wanted me to, they said, you are not qualified to be in first grade. So I had to make some adjustments at that
But
point.
now, let's be clear. When you say a one-room school, that wasn't one grade.
Oh, no.
You had, I don't know what, because you and I went to different schools.
Three grades in mine.
I went to, when I was down there, I went into second grade. There was second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth grade in my one-room school. Now, I don't know how many kids were in each one. So that's what I had at Anderson School. That's what's the name of it, Anderson School, just came to me. And I don't know what your school was called. It was the one that was where the ball field
Baseball
was.
field, yeah.
They ripped it down and built a baseball field.
I remember one time, first grader now, I get on a bus, a different bus than you, so I was a little concerned about that anyway. But anyway, I remember one time the bus bringing us home, he drives right past our house, right past the driveway. I am just panic stricken. So somebody I tell, and they yell at the bus driver, and the bus driver goes, no problem. The next stop, half a mile away probably, I don't know how far it was, he goes, oh, just get off here. I get off, here's a little first grader. I had never walked down the road by myself, and I had to walk back. I was scared to death, a traumatic experience, walking back and then finally getting home. And I think how times have changed, you know, where
Oh yeah.
parents would have called the school board and jobs would have been lost. And yeah, I made it home alive. No one gave a good crap.
That's
you
right.
know,
You probably didn't even make a big deal of it. Or maybe you did. I don't know.
I just remember how scared I was when I was walking down that road. So that was kind of.
Well, I don't remember us having different buses, but I guess we did because you went to a different school.
Yeah.
And so we had to have ridden different buses. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
You know, the practical joke thing, though, that we talked about in the last one, we dug a pit for Nina. And then the other practical joke we did, we had a bow and a bunch of arrows, and we used to shoot it into the bank. And we got bored one day, and I said, let's scare Mom. Here's what let's do. Let's put the arrows into the tree, like I shot them and surrounded you with arrows, outlined you, and we'll call Mom. So we thought that was a grand idea. So we get a nail and we hammer holes into the tree and stick arrows into the tree so it looks like the arrows, 6 or 7 of them, are around you, and you stand up against the tree. Now we're 25, 30 yards from the house. I have the bow and no arrows, but we know Mom couldn't see the arrow if you shot it from that distance. So the plan is we'll call her, and when she comes through the door, we'll say, look at this, and I'll pull the bow back and let the string go with no arrow on it, and she'll see the arrows in the tree and think I shot all those arrows and surrounded you, when I didn't shoot any arrows. Oh yeah. Well, we did that. It scared her to death. She thought that was the dumbest thing, that I would shoot toward you and risk your life. She disappeared into the house, came out. She had
my back.
She had your back, and she had the back of a board that she got off of a sewing machine box. You know, those drawers that are in those old sewing machines had fallen apart. She grabbed one of those slats, and she came out, and she whipped me with that thing. And it wasn't until later, and after I was probably done crying, and that we explained to her that I didn't shoot any arrows at you. It was all a big joke. Well, the joke was on me. But that didn't stop us. We still kept doing practice.
Oh yeah, we had some good ones. So we'll talk about later on.
Some other day, yeah.